This video contains massive spoilers of the promised Neverland Season 1 anime. Hey bears! I am the Gaming-Grizzly and welcome back to Identity 5. And today I want to bring you the background story of the new upcoming crossovers, the promised Neverland's character Norman. He's actually called Norman and they fixed that mistake, but they initially called him Norman. Okay, never mind. I want to mention that this video contains a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't watched the promised Neverland Season 1 already, click off this video. Watch it for yourself, it's very interesting, I highly recommend it. But if you just want to get a little recap, you already watched it and you just want to refresh your memory, this is the right video for you. I hope you guys enjoy it. If so, make sure to leave me a fat like, a comment in the comment section below about your favorite character, and of course if you're new, subscribe to the Gaming-Grizzly. Alright, let's jump into the background story. Taking daily tests, playing a game of tag, eating homemade food, and having a good time. Norman went through the same routine every day in Gracefield House, an orphanage where he lived since the day he was born. Under the loving parental care of Isabella and the companionship of Emma, Ray and the other orphans, Norman spent a pleasant childhood in Gracefield. When the day came for Connie to be sent off to foster parents, Norman and the other orphans gave a tearful goodbye as they bade farewell to her. Sometime after Connie left with Isabella, Norman accompanied Emma to return Connie's beloved stuffed toy, as the two proceeded to the gates of Gracefield to search for the toddler. Instead of finding Connie, Norman and Emma found Connie's corpse within a truck instead, as they stared in pure horror upon their friend's dad. The two later hid under the truck as they witnessed two demons inserting Connie's body into a jar. Isabella is revealed to be working for the demons, as the two witness in shock of how Isabella turned out to be evil. Norman and Emma returned to Gracefield unnoticed. The stuffed toy, the little bunny, was left behind, which was eventually found by the two demons and Isabella. Emma collapsed onto the ground in despair, as she recalled the traumatic scene she and Norman just witnessed, which soon led her to break down in tears. Norman consoled Emma and told her not to speak of the incident to anyone. During the next few days, Norman and Emma remained silent and secretive about Connie's death and the existence of demons, put on an innocent and childlike facade whenever they interacted with Isabella, who was suspecting the two. With the introverted yet intelligent Ray's involvement, the three started to devise an escape plan to rescue the orphans from Isabella and the demons' clutches. The three learned and gathered every possible information they could get about the outside world and to aid in their eventual escape. Ray helped in plotting the escape plan. Isabella eventually got Krona appointed as Gracefield's second caretaker, as the orphan's sister. An additional obstacle for Norman, Emma and Ray to deal with. Krona tried to get into the way of the trio, much to their dismay. Norman, Emma and Ray eventually recruited Don and Gilda into the team as additional help and told them about the secrets behind Gracefield, Isabella and the existence of demons. Along the way, the five faced obstacles and issues working together, such as the interference of Isabella and Krona, suspicions of Gilda being on the enemy's side, Ray's double-crossing, and Don's unhappiness toward the limited trust Norman, Emma and Ray had on him and Gilda, whom they did not tell the entirety of their plan and motives to. The trio starts suspecting that there might be a traitor amongst the children, possibly Don or Gilda, who are working for Isabella, and Norman lays a trap to determine who the informant is by telling them the location of their ropes and that night. The following night, Norman inspects the rope locations with Ray, and by the process of elimination accuses Ray of being the traitor. Although hesitant at first, Ray eventually confesses that he has been the spy who worked for Isabella behind his friend's back. When Norman questions his motive, Ray explained how he already knew about the orphanage secrets a long time ago and how him serving his mother as her spy is all pre-planning for him and his friend's escape. Following a lengthy discussion about loyalty, Ray eventually agrees to side with Norman, but on one condition. They must give up the intention of saving everyone, but without telling Emma. Norman is torn by this, but ends up hesitantly agreeing. When Norman and his team finally managed to put Ray's escape plan into work, it was however foiled by Isabella, as she fractured Emma's leg and revealed how Norman will be the next to be shipped off to the demons. Norman took care of Emma and her broken leg during his last few days at Gray's Field. When Emma and Ray attempt to rescue Norman by getting him to escape alone, the plan failed, as Norman returned with the news of how steep cliffs lies beyond the walls of the plantations, making his escape impossible. He soon made a tearful goodbye to the two, as he reminisced the happy childhood he had spent with them. During the day of Norman to depart, a desperate Emma was still keen to rescue him, as she made her one final attempt to save him by disabling the tracker in his ear. Norman immediately prevented her from doing so, calling her reckless. When Emma explained how she did not want Norman to die, Norman was touched by Emma's words. As he cupped Emma's cheek, Isabella interrupted the two, urging Norman to prepare to depart from the orphanage. However, she allowed Norman to give Emma a proper goodbye, where he encouraged her to stay strong and never give up hope. After giving Ray a quick goodbye as well, Norman walked to the gates of Gray's Field with Isabella and questioned her if she is truly happy. Isabella was in shock and hesitated for a moment, before replying that she was indeed happy, because she was able to meet him. The two reached the gates, and though Norman was preparing himself for the demons to appear, Isabella asked him to wait in another room. When Norman looked inside, he was disturbed by whatever he had just seen. Norman is a calm, level-headed, kind and gentle boy who presents himself to have figured things out, because he wants to appear as a reliable person to people around him. At the same time, Norman is a complex individual due to his conflicting morality. After being exposed to the truth behind the orphanage, Norman is revealed to be similar to Ray, as in being a realist and wanting to take a limited group of people along in the escape. However, he deems himself as being selfish due to worrying about his own life, as opposed to Emma, who selflessly worries about others first before herself. Norman's love for Emma inspires him to follow her idealistic ideals, and as so, he becomes determined to escape with all of his siblings, despite it seeming impossible. To achieve this, Norman has shown to be manipulative, ruthless and extremely rational, having no issues agreeing to the plan to kill Krone and Isabella that Ray came up with in order to escape. Norman is the most intelligent child in Gray's Field house. Consistently getting perfect scores, he learns to his day-to-day activities, even in a simple game of tag. He is known to be strategic, analytical, rational and possesses logical deductive skills. He is a planner who can see the entire situation and plan for it ahead of time. Additionally, Norman is very determined and doesn't let others budge him when he has firmly put his mind into a certain decision. He has a strong sense of self-confidence, which stems from assuming everything will work out in his favor in the end, if he plays his gambles right. He always relies on himself to come up with the answers, and even Norman himself stated that he always managed to accomplish what he set out to do. However, he puts intense pressure on himself to achieve their goals, and he also harbors a crushing perfectionism where he is not allowed to lose or make mistakes. When he does make mistakes and suffers, he only blames himself and imagines that a perfect scenario exists out there, and if he only had envisioned and executed that plan, he would not be suffering. Being an extremely caring individual who is fiercely loyal and protective of his family and friends, he has tendency to hide his true feelings of worry, fear and hurt, projecting instead of a calm and collected exterior to calm down and give emotional support to the people around him. For example, Norman assumes it's logical that he should use himself and be the only one hurting, rather than place any of the weight on his family. Additionally, after Norman's shipping date is announced, his first priority is to comfort Emma, even though he was the one whose life was on the line. But when faced with his impending death, he realizes how badly he still wants to live. An overall strong-willed character, he tends to disregard his own humanity and worth as a person if it means keeping everyone else safe and for the greater good. Norman is one of the main characters of the promised Neverland, alongside Emma and Ray. Norman is a math genius and a model student of the Gray's Field house, with intelligence that surpasses his peers and even adults. He is also known for being a genius strategist and planner, as well as unbeatable at the game of tag. Being the smartest child living in Gray's Field, Norman is considered as one of Gracefield House's 3 premium quality goods, next to Emma and Ray. When he discovers the truth about the orphanage with Emma, he teams up with her and Ray to devise a plan to escape. Norman is however forced to be shipped before his 12th birthday, and he sacrifices himself and accepts his fate of inevitable death to let his family escape. So that's everything that happened to Norman in Season 1 of The Promised Neverland. I'm currently watching Season 2, I'm very hooked to the story. I want to mention I haven't mentioned anything from Season 2 in this video. I also did not mention anything from the mangas. And I am just excited to see this character in Identity 5. What is your thought on this? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave me a fat like. Leave me comments about your thoughts on The Promised Neverland crossover with Identity 5. And of course, if you're new, subscribe to the Gaming-Grizzly. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!
NANI?
You haven't checked out my merch collection yet? What do I hear you say? But Grizzly, it's the middle of summer. Who gets a hoodie in the middle? Yeah. What do you mean I can't get a hoodie in the middle of summer? I'm always getting my hoodies in the middle of summer. But I got you. We also have t-shirts. Even though the hoodies are 10 times cooler.